Late last week, 13 Republicans in the House of Representatives broke ranks with their party and actually voted to pass the massive infrastructure spending bill that has been a cornerstone of President Biden's first year in office. 13 of them. And you did, by the way, have the Democratic members of the squad vote against passing the infrastructure bill because they did not want the infrastructure bill to pass without also passing the Build Back Better Act, which, for the record, just so everybody knows, most of the funding mechanisms for pieces of the infrastructure bill are contained in the Build Back Better Act. So if we don't get the Build Back Better Act, we're not going to get everything that's in the infrastructure package. The bills were written together to go together to pass at the same time. Having one without the other significantly undercuts the other one. Just so everybody's aware of what's actually happening here. But anyway, 13 Republicans voted with the Democrats, and now they've put massive targets on their own backs. Targets that people like Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Madison Cawthorn have already set their sights on. Here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to tweet out about this. 13 Republicans voted with Pelosi to spend $7.5 billion to build electric vehicle charging stations all over America to force Americans to drive CCP battery-driven cars. China dominates the EV battery market by over 80%. The U.S. can't even compete with less than 10% market share. Those 13 Republican traitors who voted to pass Biden's socialist infrastructure bill agree with globalist Joe that America must depend on China to drive EVs. The unlucky 13 are China first and America last. 13 America last. 13 American job and energy killers. Wow. It's amazing how she can pack so much wrong into a single tweet. And actually, to her credit, that was 2 tweets put together. Still, so much wrong. You see, Marjorie, part of what the legislation would do is it would give us here in the United States the infrastructure to start making these things ourselves so that we don't have to rely on other countries. If you read the bill, you'd know that. But you can't be bothered with details, right? Not when it gets in the way of a good talking point to attack something as socialist or communist or China-loving Democrats, globalist Joe, whatever the hell idiotic thing you want to say. You're an idiot. And you clearly didn't read the legislation. Madison Cawthorn came out there on social media, threatened to primary each and every one of these Republicans. The kid who can't, keep his own life in order, been involved in numerous scandals, including before he even won office by lying about his past. Yeah, okay, we're super scared of you, Madison. And then, of course, you had Matt Gaetz come out there and attack the whole thing as well. Called it socialist because he doesn't know what the word socialist means. And round we go. The real thing that's pissing these Republicans off is that members of their own party voted to pass a thing that, whether you like it or not, whether you think it goes far enough or not, I personally do not think it goes far enough, and I'm not happy with it. However, we cannot deny that it will provide some good things for the American public. Okay? That's just the God's honest truth. Again, we can argue all day about why it doesn't go far enough, and again, I agree with those takes. It's still going to deliver some good for the American public, going to give them some tangibles. Universal pre-K is a huge piece of the package, which that is great. That is going to save middle class and lower income families a ton of money every single year, possibly free people up to go get jobs, whereas they couldn't in the past because the amount they'd make from a job would actually be less than what they'd have to pay for childcare. And if you haven't had kids, by the way, let me tell you, that is a huge concern for people. At one point early on in our marriage, my wife actually did quit her job because it was costing us more money to send our kids to childcare than she was making at the job. So universal pre-K is a pretty amazing thing. You know, if we could have gotten full universal childcare, that'd have been even better. But it is what it is. Republicans don't want any kind of victory for the Biden administration, and like it or not, passing this piece of legislation is a victory for them. And it couldn't have come at a better time for Joe because his approval rating has now fallen below 40%. Latest polls show him at 38%. I imagine it would probably go even higher had they also passed the Build Back Better Act. But it is what it is. We get what we get. There's going to be some good from this. There's going to be not as many things as we want, but it happened. And now we got to see where we go from here. Is Build Back Better dead? Most likely. But if they keep trying, we just might be able to get something else out of them before next year's midterms. And that is what scares the hell out of these panicked Republicans.